Good morning, guys. In this part, I want to talk about chapter 19, about the heart. In this picture, you can see the internal anatomy of the heart. As you know previously, our heart has two atrium. One of them is a right atrium, and the other one is the left one. And you can see two ventricles here, right and left ventricle. In this chapter and in this part, I want to talk about internal and external anatomy of the heart and how the heart can perform its task. And in the next videos, I will talk about the physiology of the heart and heartbeat. As you know previously, our cardiovascular system is composed of three major parts. One of them is our heart, the other one is the blood vessels, and the last one is the blood, which I talked about it before for you. And the function of our cardiovascular system is transportation of blood in all parts of our body. It should allow exchange of oxygen and nutrients from the bloodstream to the body cells. And we have a term which we call it perfusion. And our cardiovascular system needs to have sufficient and adequate perfusion. The meaning of perfusion is this: the delivery of blood per unit of time per gram of tissue. And most of the time, typically, we can use milliliter per minute per grams. As you see here, milliliter per minute per gram. And when we have adequate perfusion, we have sufficient delivery of oxygen and nutrient to our cells. And after that, our blood vessels and blood can receive all the carbon dioxide and the waste products from different tissues of our body and send them to the excretory organs. And this adequate perfusion requires the continual pumping of the heart and open and healthy blood vessels. Our blood vessels are divided in three major parts. The first blood vessel is called arteries. The arteries are the blood vessels which carry blood away from the heart. So pay attention to this term, away from the heart. Most of them, not all of them, can carry oxygenated blood, the blood which carry oxygen for us. The next type of blood vessel is called veins. The veins can carry the blood back to our heart. And most of the veins, not all of them, carry deoxygenated blood. And the capillaries are the blood vessels which are situated between arteries and veins, and the function is doing exchange of gases and exchange of nutrient. And this exchange happens between the blood and air in our lung, and then between the blood and body cells in different parts of our body. In this picture, you can see the cardiovascular system. In this picture, as you see, pay attention, most of our arteries are colored with red. Most of the veins are colored with blue. And here you can see the arteries, which can make capillary in between. And after that, we have the veins. I will talk about these blood vessels and their organization later for you. But this picture wants to show you the cardiovascular system. You can see your heart, you can see the arteries, you can see the veins with blue color, and also you have capillaries, which we have in tissues, and capillaries are microscopic structures which we cannot see them by our naked eye. And also these are the other capillaries which you have in your lung. And in our heart and in our blood vessels, we have blood. Blood, heart, and blood vessels together can make the cardiovascular system. Here you can see the inside of the heart. As I showed you in the first picture, our heart is composed of four chambers. We have two atria. One of them is right atrium and the other one is the left atrium. And we have two ventricles which are located inferior, and you can see the right and the left ventricle. Pay attention. The right side of our heart, as you see here, is blue. When we use blue color, it means that in this part we have deoxygenated blood. And the left side of our heart is red. It means that our left side can work with oxygenated blood. So pay attention. Right side of your heart is contained deoxygenated, and left side of your heart contains oxygenated blood. In our heart, we have some major blood vessels, and they can transport blood to the heart and out of our heart. One of them is called pulmonary trunk. The pulmonary trunk starts from the right ventricle, and I will show you when it comes out of the heart, it splits into two pulmonary arteries. The other blood vessel, which is the major blood vessel in our body, is called aorta, and the aorta can transport blood from our left ventricle. We have two veins which are very important in the right side of our heart. We call them superior and inferior vena cava, and they drain the oxygenated blood into our right atrium. And the other vein is called pulmonary vein, which drain oxygenated blood to our left ventricle. And in the next picture, I will show you all of them. In this picture, you can see the right atrium here, left atrium, right ventricle, and left ventricle. As you see in this picture, from the right ventricle, we have the origination of one important blood vessel. This blood vessel is called pulmonary trunk. This is the artery because it carries blood away from the heart, and it originates from ventricle. When the pulmonary artery comes out of our heart, it divides into two parts. One of them is called right pulmonary artery, which you can see it here, and the other one is called left pulmonary artery in the left side. We are in the right side of our heart. So you need to know that the pulmonary artery carries the oxygenated blood. This blood vessel, this artery, carry the oxygenated blood away from the heart, splits into right and left side, and go to our right and left lung to do exchange of carbon dioxide with oxygen. It's artery, but it carries the oxygenated blood. Pay attention. Then we go to the left ventricle. From the left ventricle, we have the other major blood vessel here. This major blood vessel, which is the largest blood vessel in our body, is called aorta. This aorta originates from our left ventricle, and you know that in the left side of our heart we have oxygenated blood, so the aorta can carry oxygenated blood away from our heart and distribute it in all parts of our body. In the lab, I will talk about the different branches of aorta, but in this picture you can see that first the aorta, let me draw it for you. First, the aorta comes up. This part of aorta which come up is called ascending aorta. After that, the aorta makes the arch shape structure. This part is called aortic arch, and then the aorta comes down, as you see here, and we call it descending aorta. So the aorta has three major parts. First, we have ascending aorta, then we have aortic arch, and after that, we have descending aorta. These are the different parts, and it carries oxygenated blood for us. The next part is our atria, right and left atria. The atria receive blood. The right atrium receives blood from all parts of our body, and this blood is deoxygenated. So, from all the organs, like our head, the organs which we have in our head, neck, upper chest, and two upper limbs, all the oxygenated blood can come to superior vena cava, and then this superior vena cava enter the right atrium. And all the organs which are located beneath our heart, like the lower part of our chest, your abdomen, and your lower limbs, all of the organs from there can bring their blood, the oxygenated blood, into the inferior vena cava, and inferior vena cava can carry it to our heart, to the right atrium. So superior and inferior vena cava come to the right atrium of our heart, and both of them carry the oxygenated blood. And in the other side, in the left atrium, you can find 4 blood vessels. These are the number 1 and number 2, and here you can see number 3 and number 4. Let me mark them for you. You can see this one, this one, this one, and this one. We have 4 pulmonary veins. 2 of them are from our right lung, and we call them right pulmonary veins. One of them is called right superior pulmonary vein because it's located upper, and one of them is called right inferior pulmonary vein, and both of them carry oxygenated blood from our right lung. In the other side, you can see left superior and left inferior pulmonary veins. Both of them carry oxygenated blood and bring this blood to the left atrium of the heart, because you know that the left side should work with oxygenated blood. So we have 4 pulmonary veins, and these pulmonary veins are very important veins which carry oxygenated blood to our left atrium, and then from the left atrium it can come down to the left ventricle, and from the left ventricle it can pump to aorta and go and distribute to all parts of our body. And I put this picture for you to show you one important thing. All the blood vessels which work with the left side of our heart are red in their color. Look at this picture. You can see the aorta which come out of the left ventricle. The color is red. And you have these 4 pulmonary veins which come to the left atrium, and they carry oxygenated blood. They are veins, and their color is red. Their color are not blue because they carry oxygenated blood. And in the right side of our heart, all the blood vessels which works with the right side of our heart are blue in their color, despite our arteries or veins, because they carry deoxygenated blood. Here you can see the opening of pulmonary vein, pulmonary artery. You see that the pulmonary artery comes up and divides into 2 branches, right and left side, and the color is blue because it carries oxygenated blood to our lung. And here you can see the superior vena cava and inferior vena cava. They are veins, their color are blue, and they carry the oxygenated blood to our right atrium. Inside the heart, we have 2 sets of valves. 2 of our valves are called Atrioventricular Valve or AV valve. One of them is called right AV valve, and the other one is left AV valve. Pay attention. The AV valves are the valves which are located between the atrium and the ventricle in each side. Between right atrium and right ventricle, we have right AV valve, and we call it tricuspid valve. I will show you the picture. And between left atrium and left ventricle, we have left AV valve or bicuspid valve, and the other name is mitral valve. And we have the other group of valve, which we call them semilunar valve. The semilunar valve are the valve which are located between our ventricle and the arterial trunk. Do you remember pulmonary trunk and aorta? It means that the semilunar valves are located between, one of them, between right ventricle and pulmonary trunk, and the other one is located between left ventricle and aorta. They open to allow the blood to flow through the heart, and then they close to prevent backflow of blood to our heart. We have two semilunar valves. One of them is called pulmonary semilunar valve, which is located between right ventricle and pulmonary trunk, and the other one is called aortic semilunar valve. It's located between left ventricle and aorta. And you need to know that the sound of our heart is due to closure of the valve. I will talk about it in the physiology of the heart, but now you can only understand, think about it. The closure of AV valve can make the first sound of our heart, which we call it loop, and the closure of semilunar valve can make the second sound of our heart, which we call it dop. And this is the sound of your heart, loop, dop, loop, dop. So first we have closure of atrioventricular valve or AV valve, and then we have closure of semilunar valve, and this closure can make a sound of the heart. And in this picture you can see the valve of the heart. The AV valves are colored by green. You can see that the right AV valve is located between right atrium and right ventricle, and the left AV valve is located between left atrium and left ventricle. And we have two semilunar valves by yellow here. You can see the pulmonary semilunar valve between the right ventricle and pulmonary trunk, and you have aortic semilunar valve between the left ventricle and the opening and origination of our aorta. And in our body, we have two types of circulation, two circulation routes. One of them is called pulmonary circulation, and the other one is systemic circulation. The pulmonary circulation carry deoxygenated blood from our right side of the heart to our lung. In the lung, blood can pick up oxygen and release its carbon dioxide. Blood vessels return blood to the left side of our heart. This blood is completely oxygenated. So, the pulmonary circulation starts with deoxygenated blood, go to the lung, exchange oxygen with carbon dioxide, and then the oxygenated blood come back to the left side of the heart. And the other type of circulation, the other route of circulation is called systemic circulation. It moves oxygenated blood from our left side of the heart to all parts of our body, to systemic cells and tissues which we have in our body. In the systemic cells, the blood exchange gases, the oxygen, go to our cells and carbon dioxide come back. The nutrient go to our cells and the waste products come back. And the blood vessel return blood to the right side of the heart. And this blood which return back is deoxygenated. Now, I want to talk about, to show you these circulation routes, and then you will understand this basic pattern, which starts from our right side of the heart to our lung, then to the left side of the heart, then to the systemic tissue, and again it comes back to the right heart. Look at this picture. In this picture, you can see both circulation. This one is the systemic circulation, and in the other side, you can see the pulmonary circulation. Now, I want to show you separately. The first one is the pulmonary circulation. As you see in this picture, the pulmonary circulation, and you can check it in your PowerPoint. Here, they are very small. The pulmonary circulation starts from our right atrium. The oxygenated blood from the superior vena cava and inferior vena cava come to our right atrium. After that, this blood passes the AV valve, right AV valve, and come to the left ventricle. Sorry, right ventricle. Then, when the right ventricle go to contraction, it can send blood to pulmonary trunk. But before going to pulmonary trunk, the blood should pass the pulmonary semilunar valve. Then the blood come to pulmonary trunk. As you know that this blood continues its movement to the right and left side of pulmonary trunk and go to the right and left lung. Here you can see the capillaries. Capillaries are site of exchange. This deoxygenated blood can give its carbon dioxide to the lung and receive oxygen from the lung. And then you have two blood vessels in left side and two blood vessels in right side. They are right pulmonary veins, and in the other side you have left pulmonary veins. And these right and left pulmonary veins bring blood to our left atrium. So the pulmonary circulation starts from right atrium and end in left atrium. And in this circulation, we want to exchange carbon dioxide with oxygen. Now, the oxygenated blood come to our left atrium, and we want to talk about the systemic circulation. In the systemic circulation, we start from our left atrium. Then the blood passes through the left AV valve or mitral valve. Then they come down to the left ventricle. By contraction of left ventricle, the blood can go to the aorta. Before going to the aorta, it should pass the aortic semilunar valve. It goes to aortic semilunar valve, then ascending aorta, and then into the different branches of aorta and go to all parts of our body. And you see that this blood in the systemic circulation can go to the capillary side, exchange its oxygen with the carbon dioxide of tissues. It gives the tissues oxygen and receive their carbon dioxide, and this carbon dioxide can come to the veins. And as you see here, we have superior vena cava from the parts which we have above our heart, and we have inferior vena cava from all the parts which are located below than our heart. And we have one other vein, which I will talk about it later for you, which we call it coronary sinus, and we don't have it in this picture. And these three veins can bring their blood back to our right atrium. So the systemic circulation starts from left atrium and end in right atrium. You have both pictures in your book and also in your PowerPoint. You need to know these systemic circulation and pulmonary circulation step by step in order. So don't forget to work on them and know them step by step. In this point, you should answer these questions. What units are used in measurement of perfusion? What different functions are served by the left and the right side of our heart? And what are the functions of three different types of blood vessels? You need to know all of these parts.